Hello everyone, John Resso with Wells Darby. We're here at Fujitsu General America today in Pine Brook, New Jersey. We're going to shoot some videos and kind of get you guys familiar with the J-Series line from an installation perspective and a startup perspective. I'm here today, lucky enough to be at Fujitsu General America. I have Juan Perez with me. He's one of the technical trainers here. So today we are going to go through a J-Series startup and what is needed to do a J-Series startup. So we are on a completely installed unit. So basically from this point, I'll let Juan take it from here. We're going to go back and forth and we're going to touch on all the items that need to be addressed prior to starting up a J-Series.
All right, so once everything is installed, you have power to the outdoor unit. The first thing you want to do is confirm that you have good communication by checking the ohms reading at X1, X2 to make sure your terminal resistor is on. The ohms reading should be between 56 ohms, which is right on there, is 55.9, so we're good. Once you confirm that your ohms are correct, then we're gonna go ahead and start the indoor unit connection check. You know the indoor unit connection check has not been performed yet when you see 4 dashes at the outdoor unit. All right, when you see those 4 dashes, the system cannot operate without the indoor unit connection check, which you can find the instructions for or a flow chart in the installation manual.
Juan, before you get into that, can you just walk these guys through this outdoor board and just kind of identify what everything is and what should have been done prior to that startup?
All right, so here we have all our expansion valve controls, our solenoid controls. You have your dip switches. Here's your rotary dials to set your address. You have the option to set addresses from 00 to 99. So you could connect up to 100 units together by setting different addresses. You also have to make sure that your terminal resistor is on, which is set 5-4 on your dip switches. This is how you get, if that terminal resistor is not on, you would not have the 56 ohms connected. You can also twin systems together for communication purposes. Let's say you have a central controller in the space, you could have this J-Series system, another J-Series system tied in together on this terminal block here via Z1, Z2, as you see here. You run a pink wire from here to another condenser, but the only thing, they must have different refrigeration addresses. And once you connect another system on Z1, Z2, all you need is one terminal resistor. If you check ohms and it's half of 56 in the 20s, then you know there's more than one terminal resistor on, and you have to kill power, go find which one is on, and make sure there's only one terminal resistor on per network.
Juan, how important is this pink wire? Why is it pink?
The pink wire is the only wire approved from Fujitsu for communication purposes. If this wire is not used and you have communication issues, we could easily void the warranty because it's in this installation manual. So this is the only wire that Fujitsu has approved for communication.
Yeah, so this carries the Fujitsu language, a LAN language. That's what this wire is capable of. So it's critical that we run this. The other thing, it's not really polarity sensitive, but best practice for us when we're doing multiple wires under the screws, we like to put one wire on each side of the screw. So when you tighten it down, you have equal tension on both sides of the wire. And best practice is just to follow, blue to blue, white to white. Usually guys do X1 blue, X2 white, and then the grounds, twist the grounds together and make sure we get them underneath the screw, because this is communication. And if we don't have communication to the indoor heads, it really throws a wrench into the system. And then you're going to go, start chasing wires. It's just not it's a big time waster.
And if you have the pink wire, that's one less thing you have to worry about. You know that it's something that you need to look for. If I'm looking for a communication issue, I always start at my condenser, check my 56 ohms, and then I go to the very last indoor unit to see if I'm within 5% of that 56 ohms. If not, I start working my way back.
Right, one of the things we see in the field when we're out there, helping a contractor with a startup, especially if it's one of their first installs, a lot of times they won't strip the wires back far enough, and they'll actually get some of the insulation tucked up under the screw. And that reduces the ohm value that we'll see. And as Juan said, you go to the last unit and you work your way back to find out where you pick that signal back up, and that identifies where the problem was in your wiring. So that's a big deal. And it's really pretty easy to fix.
To add, very important, please do not use an impact drill To tie in your X1, X2, always try to use a screwdriver instead and manually tighten the screw. The terminal block can crack if you use an impact drill. I know that time sensitive stuff, but always try to be safe and not crack that terminal block there. All right, you would have to replace the entire board.
So last Wednesday we did an installation video on J-Series, and we talked about addressing. So just while we're right here, just show a little bit about the address.
So this is your refrigeration address. All the dip switches up here on the J-Series are set from the factory. So set 1 through 4 does not need your attention. Only set 5, 4, which is your terminal resistor. The indoor units must have the same refrigeration address, but each indoor unit must have a different indoor unit address, which we'll show you as we continue. So we're at the point that we're going to do the indoor unit connection check. I'll go ahead and do one live so you see how it doesn't take long at all. So you want to hit mode, then you want to hit select till you get to the F3 menu, hit enter. Then when you see the 2 zeros, you hit select till you get to the number 12. Then you're going to hit enter and hold it. The word run will appear, and then you let enter go, and the indoor unit connection check has begun.
So just for contractors to know and understand, they're not all in numerical order when you're doing an F312. So if you go past the 12, no problem. Just continue to scroll through till you get back to 12. And again, they're not 1 through 30. It's going to bounce all over the place. And it is very sensitive when you're pushing a button. If you pass it, it's not the end of the world.
No worries.
Just scroll right back
Just
around.
keep going. They come pretty quick, actually. They skip. So here we are in the run screen right now. Is looking for indoor units. So basically the indoor unit connection check consists of how many indoor units are connected and if the correct capacity is connected. All right?
How much wire can we use, Juan?
1,640 feet on one system you could run on a J-Series. Without having to put a signal amplifier, correct. And so I mean,
that's a big deal.
Yeah, 1,640 feet.
On the J-Series compared to Halcyon?
You have a big difference. Definitely a big difference.
We could get upwards of over 300 feet with a J-Series, depending on the application. So I don't want to throw numbers out there and have you oh, he said it could be that. No, it depends on the installation. But we do give you much longer line set capabilities than with Halcyon. The other nice thing with the J-Series install, and on the install we're going to talk about it more, is we're just waiting for this to do its run. We have the ability to hook up, like 41 different type of combinations here, with our indoor units. We could do a multi-position air handler with a wall unit, a multi-position air handler with a floor unit. You're going to see here in a little while what we have connected to this one. And when we're in this run test here, it does take the more wire we have in the system,
the longer it takes.
It's going to take to report back to the outdoor unit.
And to add, before you start the indoor unit connection check, you must make sure the indoor units are off. I forgot to say that in the beginning, but the indoor units must be off. I mean, they have power, but the controller is off.
Right. So the wall controller is in the off position. The unit is powered from a separate circuit than the outdoor unit is powered from.
So if I hit enter on F312 and it says fail, then I have to go inside and see maybe there is an indoor unit on or something happened. All right, so here we found the connection check has finished, and we see that we have U3. The U stands for unit. So it says it found 3 units, and then if we hit select, it's going to show you the capacity. It says C117. So there's 117% of indoor unit connected capacity range, which is well within the 50 to 150% indoor unit connected capacity range allowed for this J4 unit.
So we have more connected capacity. This is a 3-ton unit. Just because we have 17% more, it doesn't mean we're going to get more performance out of this unit. It's just as we load shift those indoor heads, this will give the performance up to 100%, but we're okay to go to 150%.
Correct.
So we could build redundancy, and if we were doing a commercial space with this, we could set them both to 50% each, and if one unit was down, you could still carry it with another unit.
Exactly. So once you see your capacity, you're happy with that, you confirm, you hit enter, and it'll say pass, as you see there. Once you see pass, you can hit enter again and exit, and you're ready to go. We could start the system up. You could do it from here, like doing a forced cooling or forced heating, or you could go to the actual controllers. But I actually want to show you the system connected here and how we connect them. If you notice, just a set of line sets coming to the indoor units. The Halcyon installers, you're used to bringing 5 sets of line sets to a 45,000 BTU condenser. Here, all you have is 1 set of line sets running to the indoor units, and then the indoor units are connected together using separation tubes.
So while we're talking about separation tube,
yes,
let's talk about how critical it is to make sure we have these vertical.
Yes.
The positioning of these is very important.
All right, so the number one thing, no shark fins. We can't have anything like this. So the key here is to keep a nice even, it has to be plus or minus 15 degrees parallel to ground, so you can have a nice even distribution of the refrigerant and oil return as well.
Yep.
So that's very important to make sure these are within 15 degrees of parallel to ground.
And how about vertical?
As long as they're flat.
As long as they're flat.
You know, they're
Right?
even.
You can't do this,
so you have a even distribution. They could be like this, as long as they're flat and they have an even distribution
Right. So it's all
of
about
the refrigerant
and recovering oils,
and
right?
recovering oil. That's it.
So that's critical.
Oh.
When we go out on a job site,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things we see is, you know, this not being installed 100% correct,
Leveled. Mm-hmm.
and we have to make some slight adjustments to it.
Yes.
And really, this is all about saving the contractor time on the job site. So we normally go out and do a one-day training with the contractor. We review all of these items that we're currently covering right
Yes,
now.
correct.
To make sure that, you know, we want you to be profitable on your first job. So we talked about addressing on the outdoor unit. We talked about the single line set.
Yep.
We bring it to a separation tube.
Correct.
After the separation tube, we come out of one side, we go to this unit.
Yep.
The other side is going to continue on to the next unit.
Yes.
What do we have to do here from a wiring standpoint on the
So
first unit?
on the first unit, you bring your X1, X2 from the condenser.
Pink wire.
The pink wire lands on X1, X2 of the indoor unit here, and then you go off the same, make sure you have your ground as well, X1, X2 ground, then you're gonna put X1, X2 ground and daisy chain over to the next unit with X1, X2. So easy to wire. You have 2 options. You could do parallel, daisy chain these together, and then one home run to the outdoor unit, or daisy chain. You have those 2 options, parallel or
Right.
or daisy
Most
chain.
daisy chain.
Yeah, that's the
You know,
most
that's
common in the field that I've always seen has been daisy chained.
And then, so that's from a wiring standpoint.
Yes.
On the signal side.
Correct.
From a power standpoint, we have a separate power source
Yes.
from inside the space. It does not come from the outdoor unit like a house.
Does not. It does not.
And these are marked L1, L2.
Correct.
So guys get confused that whether it's 115 volt to the indoor unit or
Yes.
220 volt to the indoor unit. But we're here to tell you it's
200
volts to the indoor unit.
Yes.
Okay, here we have a service switch. So we're just going to send the power to this indoor unit.
Yes.
And prior to sending power to the indoor unit, you never power the indoor units until after you do your refrigerant charge. And the reason behind that is the EEV valves, the electronic expansion valves, are located in the indoor units now, which is different from the Halcyon units. So we talked about refrigerant and refrigerant circuit. In here we put our refrigerant circuit to 0, 0. These units come pre-charged on the outdoor unit only.
Yes.
You need to measure your 3/8 line and your 1/4 inch line that you've installed within the job. And for 1/4 inch, it's 0.014 ounces per foot. And for 3/8,
Yeah.
it's 0.039 ounces per foot. So if I were to turn this on, it's going to drive the EEV valve closed, which is going to make it much more difficult for me to weigh in my refrigerant charge.
Correct.
So I don't power my indoor units until after I've done my pressure check, my vac down, and then I insert the correct amount of refrigerant. So that's all been done. Now we're talking refrigerant circuit. Go ahead and tell us about refrigerant circuits here and anything else you want to add and about
Yes.
addressing.
So another thing about the even if you power up and the expansion valves close on you, you still can reopen those valves by doing a function setting at the outdoor unit, which is called the recovery method. This is actually on the outdoor unit door, where it shows you how to do the recovery method by putting in F321. And this will drive open all the expansion valves of the indoor units, and you could continue to do your evacuation or your pressure test. All right, so once, you know, we have our refrigerant in, we have the refrigeration addresses match. You got to make sure that each indoor unit has a different indoor unit address. All right, so all the outdoor units refrigeration address is 00. This refrigeration address is 00. All the indoor units connected to that particular condenser must have the same refrigeration address, but a different indoor unit address. You don't know how many times people get this wrong. It's a very simple procedure, but it's attention to detail. One piece of advice would be, before you mount the unit on the wall or you hang it in the ceiling, set the address of the indoor unit on the ground. So like that, you have a frontal view of the dials, and you won't confuse the dials from pointing at the correct number. It's happened many, many times. Just take your time and get it right the first time. I mean, it's amazing.
That's important too, because some of the units, when they're hung, the addresses are actually upside down.
Yes, correct.
So it's critically important.
Yes.
And a lot of guys on bigger jobs, they'll actually take and print a little label.
Yes.
And they'll label them. And then if it's a ducted system like this is we put a ducted system in a vertical position. A lot of times on the outlet, they'll put a little tag on the outlet and tell you what the address is.
Correct.
The refrigerant circuit on larger scale
So
jobs.
helpful. So helpful that is.
Helpful,
Yes,
especially
it
if
is.
there's a problem.
Correct.
So on this one, we're going to be refrigerant circuit 00. Because it's a first takeoff, we could call it 00, indoor unit 00,
Correct.
or indoor unit 01, whatever the contractor's most comfortable.
As long as it's different than the next indoor unit. So let's say this one we left it at 00, then this one would be 01, and then the final third unit on this system would be 02.
All right. So I'm going to bring this separation tube over. Why don't
Correct.
I just review with them? So this,
Yes.
if I've had this separation tube here, coming from the last separation tube, I tuck in here.
There's a pair though, by the way, just
there is, right.
just so people know, you have a suction and a liquid separation tube.
Yeah, we didn't want to have it too confused.
Correct.
There'll be another set here. So,
Yes.
So I did this back here, right? This one goes to this unit.
Correct.
Because that's my last one. This is my last separation
Yes.
tube. So for this job with 3 indoor heads,
Yes.
I would have 2 separation tubes
That's
here.
it, 2 sets,
And 2 separation tubes there. There'd be 4 separation tubes on this job.
Correct.
It wouldn't be, I don't need another separation tube for that unit because there's nowhere for the other outlet to go.
It's the last unit on the connection.
Right.
And then the neatness of this using separation tubes, which as you can see, the separation tube has the line set size of the particular indoor unit you're going to use. All you have to do is just cut away the piece that you're not going to use.
And
but
these are BTU driven.
Yes,
and it 96,000 BTU.
Correct, depending on the amount of depending on the amount of BTU connected, then you would choose the correct separation tube.
Right. So 3-ton unit here. We have a 4-ton unit, and we have a 5-ton unit.
Correct.
And the unique thing about those, they're all single phase.
Yes.
Right. Then we have a 6, 8, and a
10 ton.
Side discharge, just like this one.
Correct.
Horizontal discharge. They're 3-phase.
Yes, referred as the J3L.
J3L. So we got a wide breadth of product in this J-Series line.
Yes, we do.
All right, so we've done the startup. We see all the units. We see our capacity. We see everything.
Yep.
Why don't we go to a wall controller and walk through a wall controller?
All
and
right.
Talk about the functions if we need to set anything. So right now, throughout all of this, all those addresses would have been set with no power.
Yes.
If we were to change any dip switches on here, as Juan was saying down here, to make sure that you always make changes with no power. We're not disconnecting any wires. We're not connecting any wires when power is on. We always want to make sure power is off anytime we touch the unit.
Yep.
In addition to that, as Juan said earlier, here's the controller. This controller is here, but it's not in the on position right now, and this controller goes to this unit. So everything is checked out. We're good to go. Now we're going to go controller to controller and start the system.
All right. So here, this Z5 controller is our latest touch panel controller. It's touch screen, makes it easy for the customer to use. So we'll go ahead and select, we'll do heat since we're in the winter. And then you could go as low as 48 in heat for your Airstage. As you can see here, I'll do it. That's the lowest heat setting. And Airstage Halcyon is 60 or minimum heat if you have. But here I'll crank it all the way up so we make sure we come on to 88. And then once you set it, don't forget to turn it on.
And once that green light comes on,
once you see the green light come on, what we're gonna do now, the system is gonna come on, and it's gonna warm up the coil of the indoor unit before it lets the indoor fan ramp up.
about 95 degrees in that indoor
Correct.
coil, hot gas before it comes on.
So the two other indoor units we have here, we chose to have it with a wireless controller. So you could either have a wall controller, and that particular wall controller, you could do up to 16 indoor units on that one controller. Could be daisy chained on that. So we'll go ahead and turn these on.
One thing here with the indoor controllers, these all need to be in the same mode. This is a heat
Yes.
pump system, okay? And a lot of times what happens is this gets turned on prior to it should be turned on. And,
Yes.
and one could be in heating, one could be in cooling, and you could get a fail code at the
Yes.
outdoor unit. If these are powered prior to running your test, that's what could happen.
So
The outdoor unit has recognized the demand. The outdoor fan has come on. So right now what's happening is the indoor units are starting to sample air.
Yep.
The thermistors in the indoor units are sending a resistance value to the outdoor unit. The outdoor unit is looking at that resistance value and is starting to calculate how much hot gas is needed
Yes.
to support the demand within the house. So
Correct.
we normally fire up at about 80,
Yeah.
frequency of 80, and then it will slowly start to step itself up.
So right now the compressor is pumping refrigerant to the indoor coils without the fans ramped up. This is to get the coil over 100 degrees, and then the fan will go to the setting on the remote control here, which is on auto.
Right, and if you're at the outdoor unit, maybe one guy's inside, one guy's outside, this is HE, that's in heating mode. It'll be CL if it's in cooling mode.
Yes.
But that's what that represents. So if you're at the outdoor unit, you know what the outdoor unit is telling you.
Okay, here we go. It's ramping up.
Get some heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that coil has reached temperature, the fan has come on, and we're starting to see the heat come out of the top of the unit, feel the heat coming out
Yeah.
of the top of the unit.
And the
already.
compressor has adjusted, it knows that the temperature has been reached of the indoor unit coil, and now it's backed off and it's slowed down and it's cruising, I like to say.
Right, it's in cruise control.
Yes. Very quiet. You can't even, it sounds like a fridge.
Right,
It sounds
we're
like a
inside.
refrigerator.
And just keep in mind, the differences, one of the differences again between the Halcyon and the J-Series is these EEV valves would be in the outdoor unit on the Halcyon unit. Here, the EEV valves are here. The communication from this unit to the outdoor unit is all about how much refrigerant do I need and what is my refrigerant temperature and my
Yes.
coil temperature and air temperature thermistor.
And one more thing I wanted to add about the electrical, right? So each indoor unit has its own power, not from the condenser, but its own power from the breaker. But you could daisy chain multiple indoor units on one 15 amp breaker as long as you don't exceed 75% of the minimum circuit capacity of 15 amps, which is 11.25 amps. Each indoor unit has the minimum circuit capacity on the label. You could see it, or you could check it in the installation manual. As long as you stay within 11 amps, you could daisy chain multiple indoor units on one 15 amp
Yeah,
breaker.
it's rare
So,
that we ever see more than 2 circuits.
yeah,
To feed an indoor system, especially when we're 3, 4, 5 ton.
Correct.
Which is the most common, where these things really have a sweet spot.
Yes.
These also qualify for rebates.
Oh, yeah.
The J-Series 3, 4, 5 ton units all qualify for high dollar rebates. So it's a really good option if you get beyond 4 heads, or if you need a air handler type job where you're using a multi-position air handler, but you need to cool another space. We have the ability with J-Series to do that because
Yes.
of all of our different types of units that we can connect to this, from a high static air handler to a medium static air handler to a low static air handler to a multi-position air handler.
4,000
Full mount.
to 96.
4,000 to 96,000.
So for what a range, Yes.
So a ton of different options.
And that's
here.
ducted 4,000 as well. We
Right,
have the
ducted,
little
compact
4,000
cassette,
BTU
4,000,
all the way to
yeah.
96.
It's great.
Yes, sir.
So that's an overview of a startup of a J-Series. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's relatively easy. We normally go out and try to help the contractor on their first couple of startups to make sure that they're comfortable with it. We can give them the documents. When you open up your manuals, you will see everything that's needed.
Yes.
Before you do a complete startup. And If you have any questions, just reach out to us at Wells Darby, Resso at wellsdarby.com, and go to your local distribution channel. If you wanted more information about J-Series, Fujitsu is always running classes, whether it's online or live here in their new training center, which they're in the process of wrapping up now, finishing touches on it. And at Wells Darby, we do training constantly, whether it's at the contractor's location, whether it's job site training, whether it's a live webinar training. We record a lot of those trainings. Just go to wellsdarby.com. You'll find all of our training information. Thank you, everyone, for spending some time with us today. Juan, thank you for allowing us to come here
my
and
pleasure.
record this morning. Hope everybody got something out of it, and look forward to seeing you in the field. Thank you very much.
Thank you.